Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Hiking Journal, part 2 of the mystery of the Fobes Ranch. In this episode, I head back out to Garner Valley and hike up the Fobes Trail to the Pacific Crest Trail. I also take in some outstanding views of the historic Fobes Ranch, once home to the legendary 60s hippie guru Timothy Leary, and now the home of YouTube star Logan Paul. Along the way, I enjoy the much cooler temperatures today and make a quick lunch stop at a great campsite right off the PCT. On the way down, I sneak alongside the ridgeline and get some amazing close-up views of the Fobes Ranch and locate the drowning pond, a mysterious hidden lake, and discover a vehicle that had rolled down the side of the fire road near the ranch. I also get a detailed view of some unusual artwork on the property, all from the edge of the Fobes Trail. That'll all be coming up in part 2 of the mystery of the Fobes Ranch, coming up next. Enlightened by this additional information and having a little first-hand experience myself, I decided I needed some closure on this trail. I've never not done a trail once I set out to. Well, maybe didn't do it the first try, but I eventually succeed. That's just my nature. Now I needed to hike to the PCT junction more than ever. After the impressive heat, the high humidity, and a close encounter with Logan Paul, I decided it would be in my best interest to have a hiking partner this time, someone to watch my back in case we ran into some trouble, or at least have a viable witness.
Okay, now, Luther, tell us what happened.
It was terrible. It was just terrible.
Oh, no, he's gonna cry.
Now, steady now, Luther. Tell us about it.
It was terrible. It was just terrible. I'll never get over it as long as I live.
Problem was, though, even though I called around, nobody was available for a midweek hike. Common sense told me it wasn't a good idea to go it alone, but what's an adventure without a little risk, I thought. When the day came, I tossed my pack into the Jeep, closed the lid to my ice chest, and drove off to Garner Valley again. Tuesday, September 20th, 2022, 8:30 a.m. Traffic had been light, and I made the turn off Highway 74 onto Fobes Ranch Road 6S05 without any difficulty. Usually I get stuck behind a big rig going 25 miles an hour, but luckily not today. I drove directly up the 4.5-mile rocky and rutted Forest Service Road to the pullout and backed in the Jeep. Well, if you're wondering where I'm going to this morning, I'm heading out to a remote trailhead in the San Bernardino National Forest. And, not all trailheads are located right off a paved road. Some of them require a little bit of finesse and travel on less than perfect roads. Like this one. This is a Forest Service road that goes up to the trailhead, and I know we've had a significant amount of rain lately, and hopefully there's no big erosion spots where the road is giving way. I've been up this road before one other time, and it was in a little better condition than this, but it doesn't look too bad. I don't even have it in 4-wheel drive in the Jeep, so I should be arriving at the trailhead here momentarily. And I can get started today. Today's going to be an interesting episode. This hike is not so much about the destination, but the journey along the way. The trail isn't going to be the most scenic, but the information contained in this episode is, I think, going to be very fascinating. And it's got a very unique look back at history and some events that occurred over 50 years ago. And I think you'll enjoy it. So that'll be coming up next here in this edition of the Hiking Journal. This time I was being a little more paranoid, so I set up a trail camera and camouflaged it in the bushes to keep an eye on the Jeep while I was away. It was definitely cooler today, and thankfully the humidity was manageable. I started up the trail with renewed energy and vigor. Well, good morning and welcome back to another edition of the Hiking Journal. Today I'm going to be hiking in a remote canyon in the San Bernardino National Forest. I'm going to be working my way up on a trail that heads up to the top, my guess is over there somewhere, to the junction with the Pacific Crest Trail. And that's that 2,650 mile trail that goes from Campo and the Mexican border all the way to Canada. What's interesting about this trail isn't so much the destination, the saddle where I'm heading, but the journey to get there. I had to drive down about 5 miles of twisted, rutted Forest Service road. Pulled over at this spot here that's unmarked. There's also no signs. The only sign I see here was one that says dogs must be leashed. And I'm going to be working my way up to the right. And I'm going to work my way. It's not a very highly used trail, so it'll probably involve some bushwhacking. Hopefully not a lot. But when I get up a little higher up, we're going to have a view down into a canyon. And that's what we're looking for today. There's a ranch home down there that has historical significance. It's all posted private property, so we're not allowed to actually go down to the ranch, but we'll get a good view from along the ridge line, along the trail that's part of the National Forest. So anyway, stick around and we're gonna go up here and check out the old ranch of the old LSD acid head Timothy Leary out here in the San Bernardino National Forest. Anyway, follow me up the trail. Well, that is a beetle. And in my day when I was a kid, I called them stink bugs because when they feel threatened, they do a headstand just like that. And they emit a odor out of the tail end that stinks. So I call them stink bugs. They're actually some form of beetle here along the trail. That's part of the road that I drove in on. And in the distance is Thomas Mountain. You know, as I'm working my way up this trail, I see my first man-made object up the trail here. It's a water tank, water tower. This trail isn't very far to get to the saddle. And like I said, this isn't about the destination, it's about the journey to get there. And there is a fire road. It's up there on the ridge line. I think at one point we'll probably get to that at some point and we'll get a better view. But I was surprised to see that some trail work has been done. When I was up here several months ago, there was I didn't get this far, I guess. I only went up like a half mile and it was just too hot. There was no air and it was like 100 degrees with, well, it wasn't 100, it was like 85, but it was 85 and 90% humidity, and it was absolutely miserable. So today it's a little cooler. Originally the daytime high was supposed to be 63, and then they changed it to 67, and now it's 73, which is still a lot better than 85 or 90. And at least right here I have a little breeze, so I'll take it. You know, this is the first week of fall, and you know, I'm kind of loving the fall colors here. I just love fall. It's my favorite time of year. And it's been kind of a brutal summer. So I'm definitely looking forward to not only some cooler temperatures, but some bright orange and gold colors. It's a little early and we're not really at the elevation for a total fall seasonal change, but we're getting there. And this is pretty interesting along the trail. Usually when you see holes like this in the rock, it's where they drilled and then they blasted. So my guess at one point maybe there was a giant boulder here and they blasted it and it's down the trail here. And I actually do remember this. So I guess I got at least this far up the trail last time. As you can see, where we're eventually heading. You know, I said I hadn't been up this far, but I actually had. And I have to admit, somebody must have done some kind of trail work because this was laying across the trail and I had to actually go around it and I had to step through. Well, actually it was back here. This is where it actually was, this piece right here. And I'll show you on a video clip. All of this section right here was smashed up against the rock here, and I had to smash my way through it. That's why I wore pants today, knowing I was going to have to cross this section. But somebody has taken the time to move it back here. I'll be damned. And then even up here. Well, I've been climbing for about 20 minutes, and now off in the distance you can see the road down there. That's where the Jeep is parked, with Thomas Mountain directly in the background. I'm going to continue working my way up to the right, up the slope towards Pacific Crest Trail Junction. Now, there wasn't a cloud in the sky today, and I had tremendous views down the canyon across Garner Valley toward Thomas Mountain, and up ahead I could make out the first of several orange-rusted metal water towers on the boundary of the Fobes Ranch.
You know, as I'm heading up the trail, it continues to head south, and that's the direction I want to go. So hopefully there's a switchback here somewhere. As I'm working my way up, I was looking for a switchback, something to turn my direction and head back to the north. Hell, this must be it. And at least up here we got a breeze. All right, so now you have our first glimpse at the Fobes Ranch. The ranch that was once owned by Timothy Leary and now Logan Paul of YouTube fame. There's a pond down there. Hopefully we get a little higher up. The house is right there in the trees. Can't really see it from here, so hopefully we'll get a better look here in a second. A little fatter than I thought. Said this fence is just meant for cattle. Well, down below me here is the famous Fobes Ranch, and the Fobes Ranch was built many years ago. It was owned by an old stagecoach driver, and in the 1960s, there was a large hippie movement in the United States and in Southern California especially, and Timothy Leary, who was a Harvard psychology professor, and he believed in hallucinogenic drugs and psychedelic drugs, and he experimented with psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms, and LSD, which is lysergic acid diethylamide, better known as LSD. And when he was getting harassed at his place in Laguna Beach, he followed some people out here to this ranch. It's about 5 miles up a remote canyon, and there's nothing else behind it. There's no roads, and it has a great view looking down valley, so they can see anyone approaching for 4 or 5 miles. Now, back in the 1960s, when Timothy Leary was in his heyday, he had almost like a commune, 30 or 40 people that lived here on the grounds of this ranch. And they lived in teepees and huts that they had built in amongst the trees. Timothy Leary and his wife Rosemary themselves, they actually lived here in one of the teepees on the ranch property. All of the people that lived here, they experimented with psychedelic drugs. Like I said, their main thing was LSD. What they would do is they would have a chemist manufacture the LSD liquid. They would transport it out here, and then here they would put the drops of liquid onto placebo pills or little tabs that look like little small stamps, and they would distribute them to people to try to get them hooked on LSD. Obviously, in those days, it was a felony, and it still to this day is. But since they were so remote, law enforcement pretty much left them alone. But what happened was, in the late 1960s, one of the members of the ranch here, a young girl, drowned in a pond, which we could have seen earlier down the trail. Like I'll show it to you on the way back. The FBI came up here. They raided it. They ended up taking 7 people into custody. They closed down the ranch. They arrested Timothy Leary, and eventually he was exonerated for the death of the girl because it really had nothing to do with him. But they ended up closing down the ranch. One of the towers here was painted bright orange, and that was for orange sunshine, which was a type of LSD that they manufactured here on premise. And the ranch sat vacant for the most part for 30, 40 years until it was purchased just recently by a YouTuber by the name of Logan Paul. You might know of Logan Paul and his brother Jake Paul. They have millions of viewers on YouTube. Jake Paul's a boxer making the circuit right now, trying to get more famous than he already is. And Logan Paul's famous for showing the pictures of a body, a suicide, hanging in the suicide forest in Japan. So he's been in the news a lot in the last several years, and they're both have millions of dollars from their YouTube funds that have been generated from all their viewerships. And I guess besides having the multi-million-dollar homes in LA and Beverly Hills, he also owns this ranch down here. And last time I was up here, he actually drove right by me. So down there in that house, it's just a small one-bedroom loft house. Right now is the home of Logan Paul. But we're not going to the ranch, that's private property. Everything down there is private. We're going to be going a little further up here to the right, up to the top of Fobes Junction and the Pacific Crest Trail. Well, the trail is taking a decidedly more scenic turn. Check this out. A little burnt out tree. It's kind of cool. I like this terrain up here. It's not so much rocky and desolate. And in the sun, it's actually got some shade and some wild grasses, which is very nice. Well, as you can see, I'm not that far from the saddle, the Fobes saddle, and off to the right should be the PCT up there. I should be there in a few minutes. And at least up here at the mouth of this canyon, there's a nice stiff breeze and it feels great. Well, as I'm working my way up the trail, I'm at the saddle. This is called Fobes Saddle right here, and this is the Pacific Crest Trail. Looks like it's pretty scenic up here. Looks like there's a spot or two for a camp. The Pacific Crest Trail heads that direction over towards Spittler Peak, and this direction heads over to Palm View. Yeah, there we go, Apache Spring 3 miles. Pacific Crest Trail. And this is the Fobes Trail, which is what I'm on. 1.5 miles only to the road where I came up. Sure seemed like it was a lot farther than that. This looks like a nice spot to take a break. I think I'll take him up on it. And looks like I might get some pretty spectacular views over the desert if I head this way. Let's go check it out. Here's a nice cactus specimen. And we also have the beginning of our first view overlooking the desert. See if I can get to a better spot. All right, well, I'm at a viewpoint. I'm about 100 yards maybe south and east of the Fobes PCT Trail Junction. Well, that's the northbound Pacific Crest Trail that goes right through there. And I'm looking a little bit to the north and east as I swing around here. That's Palm Desert. That's Coachella Valley and Interstate 10 going down the middle of that. On the other side of that's Joshua Tree. As I'm working my way around to the right, it's part of the San Jacinto Divide. Palm View Peak is over there in the trees. I might go up there, I might not, I don't know, we'll see how I feel. But I might take a break here in the trees. It's nice here and there's a great breeze. And you do have to enjoy this pretty tremendous view. The view is actually better south of here, but this still isn't too bad. I'll take it.
Once I reach the Fobes Saddle where the trail meets up with the PCT, I plopped down my pack in the shade of a sprawling oak tree and enjoyed a cool, crisp breeze. Here I cracked open a beer and made lunch, all from atop the Fobes Saddle.
Well, I made it up the top of the junction of the Fobes Trail and the PCT, which is just to my left here. And there's a nice little spot here. I guess this would be a good campsite if you're hiking on the PCT and you're heading northbound. There's also one on the other side. This one's got a little more shade. There's also one more back there in the back. But it's pretty breezy right here, as you can tell. But to be honest, it's nice because I was actually hot down there. I made it up past the Timothy Leary old ranch, the Fobes Ranch, up here to this junction. And I actually laid back on this tree here for a couple of minutes. And then I realized it was crawling with ants. So I decided that if I sit on it, it's not as bad. At least it's not crawling around in my hair. But anyway, I made it up here. And I tell you what, this was a great idea today. I froze this solid in the freezer last night and brought it up here in my backpack today. So now I got a whole quart of Gatorade G2 Frost. And this is really refreshing, but not as refreshing as what's coming up next. Well, besides coming up here to view the ranch, I also wanted to try a new beer that I got. It's from Trader Joe's, and it's still ice cold. It's from Brewery X, called Feast Beer Ja. So I think it's a Oktoberfest. It says Bavarian style Feast Beer Lager. So hopefully didn't get too shaken up in my pack. It's foaming a little. Gotta get the ants off me. If you like Bavarian style lagers, this one's actually pretty good. It's in the 16 ounce can as well. So when you come up here, it takes 2 of the cozies to keep it chilled. And if you get it really cold and keep it deep inside your pack, keep a couple of koozies on it. It's still cold when you get to your lunch spot. So it's still early. It's only 11 o'clock. So I don't know. I might take a half-hour break up here. I might make some lunch. I actually brought some top ramen and a stove, but it's so windy here. I don't know. We'll see. Give me a few minutes. Well, I decided to make lunch up here, and today I'm going to be having some top ramen, the good old top ramen, one of the backpackers' favorites. It's easy to make. Just boil up some water, throw in some noodles and a little bit of seasoning pack, and you're good to go. And I'm going to be cooking it today on this Keith titanium canteen cup with a proprietary lid. That's getting hot already. The actual stove underneath, the stainless steel part, is just a canteen cup that I actually cut up with a tool, with a cutting wheel and my angle grinder, and drilled a bunch of holes in the top. And I have a Trangia stove underneath, and you can probably see the flame licking up at the top of the stove and heating up the water inside that titanium canteen cup. And I'm fortunate that I did bring a solid windscreen. A lot of times you don't need it because it has a pretty good flame resistant, wind resistance off the back side. But it's so windy up here, this is really going to make a big difference. And maybe if I have enough water left over, I'll make some caramel latte. But that's, of course, after I finish my feast beer, yeah? Let's go check it out. We'll see if it's getting close. It's not quite boiling yet, but it's getting there. And it's getting really close. I can't believe this breeze, and this is awesome. I was so hot coming up here, and last time I was dying. And this time, even though the sun's going to be brutal on the way down, this is nice having this cool breeze. It's been quite a summer. It's been 109, 111, 115 at one point. And the fact that it's only probably in the low 70s, high 60s. Got quite a few ants up here. This is just great. And hopefully this water will heat up here in a minute. I'll be able to cook my top ramen and have lunch up here, and then take in the sights a little more, and then start working my way back down past the Timothy Leary Ranch. I'll talk more about that when we get to a better view. All right, let's check on my top ramen here. I had to use this stick because this is getting too hot. And it looks like I'm at a full rolling boil. There's nothing better than top ramen. Nice and salty. You know, you wouldn't want to eat this every day, but when you're on a trail and you've exerted tons of energy and you sweat really hard and all that electrolytes have worked through your system, it's nice to get the salt back in your body and save a little water. Well, I have to say, it's been a pretty uneventful hike for the most part. I haven't seen any snakes at all. I was kind of hoping I'd see a rattlesnake or two, maybe a rosy boa or even a garter snake, something, and nothing. But anyway, I'm just going to finish my caramel latte here on the top of the PCT and Fobes Trail Junction in this fabulous wind guster up here, and then I'm going to start working my way down. Hopefully I'll be able to keep my hat on the way down. You know, in that old vintage video clip that I showed with Timothy Leary and his wife Rosemary, they talked about the clean, fresh air up here in the mountains and how they used to climb the hills to get high. And I wonder if that is the trail they used to use, because that trail leads directly right to the ranch down below. I don't know where it goes up that direction, but I guess we'll see more of that as we work our way back down. The wind's picking up here again, and I've got a really good view down that direction now toward the ranch. And I just wonder if anybody's home today. Maybe a little farther down, maybe I'll stop and get out the binoculars. Makes you wonder. It is pretty up here though. And I can see that trail snaking its way all the way up into a grove of trees right there. It looks like it stops right there, so. I also read there's a cave back here. And they used to go up there and chant and have their rituals and smoke peyote and have the full psychedelic experience from the 60s. I just wonder. Well, I wonder if you ever get that feeling that you're being watched. Oh, there goes the hat. There's the Timothy Leary compound down there. That's how it stands today. There is somebody down there. I don't know if that's a caretaker or not. I don't see any black four-wheel drive Dodge truck, so I don't think Logan Paul is home today. Probably has a caretaker, but you can see the main residence. You can see the outbuildings and in this area. I don't know if it was out in the fields or adjacent to the residence. That's where the teepees were, and that's where Timothy Leary and his band of hippies, part of the hippie mafia, lived back in the 1960s. You can see the house. You can see the school bus on the property. You can see one of the water tanks, a little up canyon there. A nice area in the trees. Looks like a nice scenic spot. We've got a good breeze. And also down there in the distance, you'll see that orange container. Looks like a freight container, something you'd see on a ship. And on top, there's a motorcycle. And out front on the road is an elephant. I'm assuming it's a ceramic elephant, or it's plaster of Paris, or maybe carved out of wood. It looks like a real elephant from here, but it hasn't moved, so I don't think it's a real elephant. And then I also see a gate down there, which is the turnaround, which is where all the security cameras are and the night lights. I drove up there last time I was here, did a turnaround right there. Pretty ominous looking location. Well, there's the pond on property. That's where the girl died back in the 60s.
Okay, stop for a minute. This pond is also the hidden lake Logan Paul talks about in his video episode. He says he's at a hidden mountain lake at 8,000 feet, but really he's just out front of his home on the Fobes Ranch.
This is crazy, guys. We are 8,000 feet in the air on the top of a mountain. Sitting there swimming in a little oasis right now.
Something else that's kind of unusual, there's a black SUV right there just off the trail, and it looks like it's not really on the trail, so I can't really tell. It looks like the roof might have been caved in. It looks fairly new. Don't know if somebody was driving up there, maybe him. And he ran off the trail and rolled down. I can't really tell.
Also, that black SUV is actually a Jeep Cherokee that he rolled down the slope on purpose for an episode a few years ago.
He's going, there he goes! Oh!
I'm sure all the residents here in the Garner Valley area probably didn't take too kindly to YouTube celebrity buying property up here, especially somebody of his caliber bringing up his baggage with him. I'm sure they originally thought, oh great, he's gonna come up here, he's gonna bring up a bunch of party people, everybody's gonna come up here and they're gonna trash the place and end his life as they know it up here in Garner Valley. He's gonna be gone. But I think they've come to realize that, who knows, maybe personality that he portrays online in the media isn't quite what he is in real life. Or maybe this is just his silent getaway place where he comes to unwind, who knows. Same with Timothy Leary. But Over the years, I've had the opportunity to meet quite a few celebrities, and a lot of times they're not exactly what you think. Some of them are actually pretty decent people. Who knows? Maybe Logan Paul is not quite the a-hole you think. I hope so. And I hope the time he spends out here at this secluded ranch doesn't ruin it for the other people that live out here. And I hope people that watch the video that decide to come up here to get a peek at the ranch do it from the trail like I did, where it's legal and from a distance, and so as not to disturb him or his private property rights. If I lived down there, I wouldn't want people spying on me either, so I get it. But this is a public trail I hadn't been to. Goes up to the Pacific Crest Trail, and I had to knock this off my bucket list. And of course, the historical significance of the ranch is also interesting to me, actually more so than the trail. But at least now I can say I've done them both. So anyway, I'm probably about a mile maybe from my Jeep, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Journal, and you learned a little bit about Timothy Leary and the Brotherhood, or also known as the hippie mafia, that cooked, or actually fabricated, LSD out in the canyon here in Fobes Ranch, in just outside of Garner Valley in the San Bernardino National Forest. So anyway, I'll catch you in another edition down the trail, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Now, when I got home, I checked the SD card on my trail cam to see if I captured anything. Unfortunately, I had not. Just a bunch of leaves blowing across the dirt and a bird or two flying by. That's a good thing, I guess. The drive back out along the rutted fire road was jarring, but I made it back to the highway without any damage.
All right, well, I survived my trip out to the Timothy Leary Ranch, also known as the Fobes Ranch on the map, and my 6.5 mile hike up to the top of the canyon and the junction with the Pacific Crest Trail. Now I just have about a 4 mile truck trail drive to get back to pavement. It was a good hike. It was hot. It says it's 83 right now. Daytime high up here is supposed to be 73. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good dip. That's why you don't bring your car up here. But in a Jeep, you're fine. I don't even have it in 4-wheel drive. But I didn't see anybody on the hike today, not a soul. Way off in the distance at the ranch, I did see one guy. He looked like he might have been a caretaker of some kind. And that was it. Nobody on the PCT, nobody on the trail, nobody on the drive. Actually, I did see that one lady in the Subaru Forester. I passed her on the way. I didn't see her, physically see her. I saw her vehicle parked on the side of the road. Last time I was up here, I passed her and her vehicle, and then she drove out past me on the way out. So, but I don't know, maybe she was off in one of the gullies chasing cattle, who knows, with her dog. But I didn't see her today anywhere on the trail, and no snakes, imagine that. So anyway, I got about a 20-minute drive back to the hardtop, then about another 45 minutes to get back to the house. So it was a good hike today. I'm sure it'll be a little sore tomorrow. It wasn't too bad. 6.5 miles, that's not too bad. I did wear pants today, and I also wore boots and wool socks. Because I thought I was going to have to do some bushwhacking, and believe it or not, I didn't. I totally could have done this in shorts and my Luna sandals, no problem whatsoever. So that was a snake, but it was just a stick. So if I ever come back up here again, I don't know, maybe, we'll see. If I ever come back up here again, maybe that's what I'll wear. So anyway, take care, and I'll see you down the trail from Fobes Ranch out here in the San Bernardino National Forest up in the San Jacinto Mountains. Can you imagine what Timothy Leary would have done if he would have had access to YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, huh? Imagine how many followers he would have had. I can't even imagine. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
I arrived home just in time to unload my gear, hop in the shower, and take a break before an early dinner. It had been a good day. I had finally hiked the Fobes Trail and gotten a closer look at the historic ranch. Yet somehow I had this feeling I was missing something. After dinner, I pulled out my laptop and began searching for more clues as to the mystery of the Fobes Ranch. What I discovered was eerily creepy. I'll talk more about this in the second part of my adventure at the Fobes Ranch in the next episode, The Cave, coming up next. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Hiking Journal. My hike up the Fobes Trail to the Pacific Crest Trail junction and my discovery of the historic Fobes Ranch, home of the legendary LSD guru Timothy Leary and the Brotherhood of Eternal Love. If you have any comments or questions about this or any other edition of the Hiking Journal, drop me a line in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to click and subscribe and tap that notification bell to get the latest updates to the channel as I post them. Anyway, stay safe out there, and I'll see you down the trail. Take care. Bye-bye. Peace. That's for Timothy Leary.